Good morning. One little bit of housekeeping. The Troas night is May 20th. May 20th, but not this Friday. So that's May 20th is not this Friday. So just want to clarify that. So we'll still be 7:30. It's a little bit of time from now, but just wanted to clarify that so we're all in the same place at the same time. But happy Mother's Day to the moms out there. It's a special day. They asked for an expert on motherhood, and so I said, no, just kidding. Get in trouble on Mother's Day, No, Mother's Day is a fabulous day. I've grown more and more grateful for Mother's Day as I've seen my wife become a mother. She's an awesome mother. She's incredible. And to see her love, it amazes me because I keep comparing it to my own. And then I realized just how incredible her love is. Because she's aware of things that I didn't even know existed as a parent. She's reading articles. She's like, did you hear about this new technique? And I'm like, no, I didn't even know that was a problem. I thought we were doing okay, but moms just, they have it's a different kind of love. My mom was an incredible woman of faith. She is a incredible woman of faith. My mom was known for loving really deeply, but my mom also could bring some truth really deeply, And I remember whenever my friends, we talk about whose house do we want to go over in the team ministry, whose house do we want to hang out at? And there was always like counting the cost coming to my house, because we can go to Drew's house, but we got to make sure that every word that comes from our mouth is the words of God. Because I had a friend of mine use a word once, kind of not a very encouraging word. And my mom came downstairs and I was like, here we go, baby, here we go. And she was like, if you're going to talk like that, you can get out of my house. And that's my mom. That's my mom. She said, listen, you're not going to talk like that in my house. And it wasn't a very nice word. So she was doing the right thing. Another time, one of my friends was like kind of bragging about a test he had just taken and how the teacher had left the answers on the desk. And so he could see the answers. And so, but he was kind of bragging like, oh, the teacher's so dumb. Like I saw the answers. And my mom was like, come here for a second. She's like, you can't confess that sin and not do something about it. She's like, you got to apologize to that teacher. You got to retake the test. And he did that. He went in the next day. He said, I'm sorry, I cheated. I need to retake the test. He's a smart guy. He got an A. He knew the answers. He was being fine. But actually, to this day, he's a disciple in the Dallas church. He tells that story to me. He's like, I really was encouraged by your mom. In the moment, I was like, Mom, chill out with my friends. I'm not going to have any friends left. But my friend Adam Nagel, he's in Dallas now. He's got a great family. He's got great kids. But he goes, man, I'm so glad she said that. So my mom is she's a loving, incredible person, but she's also going to deliver some truth. And I think that's the thing about moms is they're able to do both so effectively. And in Matthew 15, that's where we'll be this morning. Matthew 15, we're going to do a little lesson on a mom, on a mother in the Gospels, in the ministry of Jesus, who really is able to love so intensely, but also deliver truth so intensely. Matthew 15 in verse 21. This is one of the more difficult passages in the New Testament. It's hard to understand sometimes. And sometimes when you read a passage like this, it's easy to try to just ignore it. But if it's the Word of God and the Holy Spirit has deigned to put this in the Bible, it's here for a reason. And we have to really strive. And I pray that this morning we can let the Holy Spirit hit our hearts afresh and apply this passage, because this is one of my heroes in the New Testament. There's a lot of amazing women, and this one is not just an amazing woman, she's an amazing mom. And I do want to just take a moment here, just for 1 second, before we start reading Matthew 15:21. I just want to encourage all those out there. This is a great day for those who are moms who've had, been able to have kids. My wife and I went through a time of infertility, and every Mother's Day that we were going through that period was really difficult, because I would see my wife in church even and see the roses passed out, and she didn't get one. And I remember thinking, man, we're trying so hard. We're doing everything right. It's not happening. It's not her fault. She can't be a mother. And, God delivered that promise. He's running around back there somewhere. And praise God for that. But I want to encourage, if you're sitting here today and you're in pain and you're struggling because you want to be a mom or you can't, or you suffered loss in some way, whether you've lost a mom or you've lost a child, I want to encourage you. Jesus is here this morning for you as well. That today is a day of celebration, but oftentimes a celebration right alongside is grieving and sadness. So I want to encourage you, if you're there this morning, and that this text is actually going to speak to that here in a moment. But I want to let you know that we celebrate you, we love you, and more than that, Jesus loves you and celebrates you this day. So in Matthew 15, verse 21, it says, leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. Now, that's not a small withdrawal. That is far away. That is way, way up north. If Israel is here, okay, and Jerusalem's down here, Tyre and Sidon is up at the top, okay? They're way north. There's no Jews up there. This is Gentiles. This is enemy territory. But Jesus withdraws because he needs a little bit of a break, okay? Because he's Jesus, and he helps a lot of people. So he withdraws to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and in verse 22 says, a Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him, crying out, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly. Jesus did not answer a word, so his disciples came to him and urged him, send her away, for she keeps crying out after us. He answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. The woman came and knelt before him and said, Lord, help me, she said. He replied, it is not right for the children's bread to be tossed to the dogs. Yes, it is, Lord, she said. Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table. Then Jesus said to her, woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. And her daughter was healed at that moment. You know, this is a very challenging passage because at first glance, it looks like Jesus is insensitive, that he is prejudiced, that he is even racist against this woman. He could be sexist. He's something because he's embodying all of her worst fears in this moment. Now, she as a woman has to decide a couple things. As she goes to find Jesus, she has to cross a couple boundaries. One, I'm a woman. Now, rabbis, just so you know, rabbis did not talk to women in public back then. But let me up the ante. Rabbis did not talk to their family that was women in public. So rabbis, no self-respecting rabbi at this time talked to their wife in public, talked to their daughter in public. That was shameful. So the woman probably knows this, but she decides, anyway, I'm going to go talk to this rabbi. I'm going to go do it. But not only is she a woman, it'd be one thing if she was a Jewish woman. She could like play the Jew card, like, hey, you know, same family. Come on, remember Abraham? We're all good, right? But she's like, no, she's not even, she's a Canaanite. She's an enemy. There's two boundaries that she decides to cross, but still she cries out after Jesus. And one thing that we do as Westerners when we read the Bible in a way that it was kind of never meant to be read, which is we read it in an individualistic way. That is to say, in this passage, there's an audience, but sometimes we don't read it like that, do we? We just see Jesus and the woman. But in reality, the disciples, the apostles are there. Jesus's group is there. And that's really important to this story. Really important. We can't, as we read this passage, we cannot forget that there's a lot of people here in this moment. And I don't believe that Jesus is embodying those things. I believe Jesus is doing something very powerful here, that he has a plan. And, you know, first of all, we got to address a couple things. Tough exams are not a bad thing. Jesus is giving her, in a sense, I believe, a tough exam, a test. I think he's trying to draw out her faith by what he does here. And he does that, I think, by saying, remember at first, he's quiet, right? She's like, help me. And he's silent, right? Now, Jesus is not, he's not a dummy. He knows what his people say about Gentiles, that they're dogs, that they're scum, that they've betrayed, they're traitors. He knows that's what his people say. He knows that his disciples think that because this is the second time. Remember in John 4, Jesus is talking to the woman at the well. And remember the disciples show up. What do they ask? They're like, do you want us to get rid of her? You know, his posse, like, do you want us to deal with this right here? This is not okay. And Jesus says, no, guys, go back into town, you know, go away. And here Jesus does something. I think it's one thing when you have prejudice in your heart, but when that prejudice is spoken, it's shocking, isn't it? It's like when you hear it, when you see it, you're like, sometimes you're like, is it happening right now? That's shocking. And so Jesus kind of gives a voice, I believe, to what his disciples believe, that God is really only for the lost sheep of Israel, that God is really only for primarily men. And here we go. And Jesus, I believe, is being, if we're going to borrow an English term, I think he's being cheeky. I think Jesus is saying, listen, I've only been sent to the lost sheep. But here we see the woman with a test put before her, and she rises to the occasion. And she answers. Now, tests are not a bad thing, okay? Tests find out usually what you know. Maybe we don't like tests because we don't know very much, right? It's like, I don't want to take the test because I don't know what it's going to say, right? But if we feel good about a test, you're like, I got this thing. Tests are not necessarily bad. They're just neutral. They're a thing. Now, they kind of gauge what you may or may not know. And remember Jesus with the paralyzed man who sat by the pool of Siloam for 37 years. Remember what he says? Do you want to get well? It's a little offensive, Jesus. Like, this guy is like, do you want to get well? Now, at first glance, it's like you don't go up to somebody on the side of the street in a wheelchair and say, would you like to walk? Because it's like they're very aware that they can't walk. It kind of comes off offensive. Now, sometimes we don't like being offended. We don't like it one bit. Don't you dare do that now. Don't offend me. But I think sometimes and listen, we shouldn't try to offend each other. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that whenever we try to engage with a real, authentic human being, we're going to be offended because they're flawed. They make mistakes. They struggle. Now, Jesus is perfect. So I believe he's playing into some of these things to draw out answers. I believe he's trying to goad this woman into an answer, but he's basically putting this test down. And what Jesus was saying is, with the man who was paralyzed, right? When Jesus says, do you want to get well? What's he really saying? He's saying, are you ready for your life to change? Do you really want to make the effort to see this change? It's like someone who studies the Bible, right? They come in, they're like, I want to be saved. You're like, are you really willing to give up your life? No. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. Are you really willing? Jesus is not a vending machine. Okay? He's not just like, you to put in the C6, give me the M&Ms. Jesus is like, hold on. I'm going to leave one day. You know what was great about moms? The brother shared earlier, his mom taught him how to live, how to survive when she's gone. That's what Jesus doesn't want to just give you everything. Because then guess what? It's like, okay, when he's gone, when he leaves, like, what are you going to do? Jesus is like, I'll be there for you, but we got to also, it's a relationship. We got to grow up. We got to grow. And so he puts this test before the woman. And let's see what happens. Now, the woman, she's a woman of faith. She's a woman of love. She loves her daughter. She's there for her daughter, right? Her daughter is suffering terribly. But it also says that she calls Jesus Son of David and Lord. So why does the woman go to Jesus in the first place? Now, I know I'm throwing out verses here, but in Mark chapter 3, it says that Jesus was healing Jews and Gentiles, and that news had been spread all around the region of Tyre and Sidon, right? So in all likelihood, this woman has heard there's a Jewish rabbi. Oh, a Jewish rabbi, those guys are the worst. They're so, Jewish and rabbi-ish. I don't know. They're just not great. They got no love for us up here in the north in Tyre and Sidon, okay? The Canada of Israel. They got no love for us, all right, up here. But then she hears the word, no, he heals people. Wait, what kind of people? All people. Wait, all people? All people. That's what I'm hearing. Are you hearing that? I'm hearing that. Well, I wonder, is he's here? He's here. He's nearby. He's where? And she's off. She's running. She's like, I got to go find this guy because she calls him Lord. It's not just, and you could say, well, Lord just means sir, but not next to Son of David. Lord and Son of David, she has faith in this guy. She has trust in this guy. So much so that when he says that I'm only here for the lost sheep of Israel, you can't take the food and give it to the dogs, she doesn't believe he really means it. She's like, I know, I've heard about you. I know you. I know. And she answers in an incredible way. Basically, Jesus is using an idiom, a metaphor. And what happens is they would have these dinners and the little dogs. And by the way, dogs in Israel, dogs in the Middle East, they're not like out here. Okay. Dogs are next to pigs in disgusting uncleanliness. I'm sorry for some of you who are now, tortured in your righteous soul by that. But dogs in the Middle East are not like, oh, it's like the little dogs get, no, the dogs are of the street. And the dogs would come in and they would eat the crumbs. They would eat the leftovers from the meal. This was pretty common to occur. And if you've seen, I reference this a lot, but if you've seen the Chosen, Matthew is rejected by society. His only friend is a dog. That's supposed to symbolize, okay, nobody, the worst of the worst wants to associate with this guy. A street dog will associate with Matthew. So maybe as Matthew writes this, maybe if he had a dog, anyway, maybe he's thinking about that. But Matthew, think about Matthew too. He's writing this story. He's probably loving this. Like, listen, this woman did something incredible. And what she's saying is, well, let me back up. What Jesus is saying is, listen, it would be disrespectful when we sit down to dinner to take the food from my son Brooks. He's 1 year old, right? 1 year old. If I took Brooks's food and I just took it away from my baby boy and I gave it to a dog, that would be disrespectful to the baby boy. The dog will get its food, but first will be the children. And then she's like, but sir, and I like to imagine this like it's a rap battle. Like Jesus says this and his disciples are like, oh, snap. Like, what? He just said what? The dogs and the children and what's right? Israel in the house. And she's there and she doesn't have a posse, but imagine she's got her crew, She's like, you want to say we're dogs? I am a dog. But even dogs get the crumbs. Even dogs get something. Do you not have a crumb for me? A crumb of your power is enough. Do you not have even a crumb for me, for a dog like me? And her group is like, oh my goodness, that was incredible. I was like, those videos on they're going crazy. Whoa. And Jesus is blown away by her answer because it does two things. She actually, when you get offended, what do? What'd you say? Right? You puff up. You get defended, you get defensive, and you fight or you flight, okay? But one of the two, we either fight or we run away. Something happens in church. Something happens with your friends. Something happens on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat. Something happens in the news. Something happens with your family. This is every day of our lives, right, church? And we either fight or flight. We either engage and fight back with fire or we run away and we hide. This is how we respond. But you know what's beautiful about the woman? Is she does neither one. In the face of being offended, in the face of public humiliation, she does the unthinkable. She lowers herself. You know how hard it is to do when someone disrespects you? To lower yourself. Now she's able to lower herself because of her faith. She lowers herself because, listen, she says, Jesus, you can give the food to the children, but surely I just need a crumb. I know you can do it, Jesus. I've heard what you can do. Just give me a little bit. She believes in who she's heard he is. She trusts in his character. When someone hurts you, someone messes up, sometimes you got to fall back to their character. You say, well, I know they blew it, but I trust that he would never mean to do that. I trust that she would never mean to say that. You fall back to something deeper, right? And we all do this. We all fall back to something deeper when it happens. I remember playing Risk Risk is a board game we played in college, and a friend of mine lost. He was pretty mad. And so he stood up, and he was dating at the time. The rest of us were single. And he stood up and he goes, at least I'm dating. And it was as we eradicated his army, he said, at least I have a girlfriend. Huh. When he got, he lost the game, so he fell back on something deeper, right? Well, at least I'm dating, my bedrock. He got married to somebody else, but he's doing great. He's out in the Colorado church. He's doing well. Mutual friend of ours, great guy, sells houses. But anyway, we fall back to something deeper. And when she's challenged, she's offended, she falls back to something deeper. I trust his character. I know you can do it. And she lowers herself. Just a few minutes left here. I just want to share. I think our culture has this wrong. I think for a long time, and this is a quote from the Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness, is up to the 20th century, traditional cultures and still most cultures around the world believed that too high a view of yourself was the root cause of all evil. But now we have it backwards, right? Why are people abused? Why are they cruel? Why are bad things happening? Why are they doing bad things? Traditionally, the answer was hubris or pride. They thought too much of themselves. But now we'd say, no, they need more self-esteem. They need to respect themselves more. They need more self-love. They need to see themselves and have a higher view of themselves. And now we have the opposite view today, and I think one of the things that's powerful here is that the woman doesn't take a higher view of herself in this moment. She doesn't say, I'm a self-respecting, Canaanite woman, and I'm a mom and I'm a daughter, and you better, and she doesn't get commanding. She doesn't get diminutive. She doesn't put Jesus down. She doesn't fight him back. She doesn't try to win the argument. And in a way, she actually, and this is why this woman's fabulous. This woman's amazing. She encapsulates the gospel by winning the argument, by humbling herself. She wins by lowering herself. And here's the thing. It's not that she lowered, oh, woe is me. Oh, Bad Llama. It's not that, right? Bad Llama, Emperor's New Groove. It's a great movie. But she doesn't lower. She doesn't say I'm a bad person. It's not self-flagellation. It's not, I'm no, woe is me. I'm no good. I'm no good. What it is, she's able to have a lower view of herself in a sense. She's able to lower herself because she has such a high view of Jesus. And this is the trick. When we actually have a high view of Jesus, we'll have a higher view of ourselves. Because if I think, man, in order to be happy, I got to have more Drew time. I got to see Drew in a better light. Drew's got to get his way. I'm setting myself up for all kinds of disappointment, number one. And number two, have you met Drew? It's a lot of pressure on one person to encapsulate truth. You can't. It's pressure. That's why so many people have so much anxiety and depression, because there's so much pressure. Live your truth. What is it? Do you know? I don't know. Do you? Okay, let's pretend, smile, right? Like, this is the truth. When we fall back on something deeper and truer, you got to fall back on something that never moves. That brother's girlfriend, that wasn't a good decision, right? It's like this. But when I fall back on me, guess what? Drew moves. Drew's going to be sad tomorrow. Happy Tuesday. I don't know how I'm going to feel Wednesday. It's going to be stressful, but Jesus never moves. God's character never changes. And no matter where you live, what church you go to, who you're dating, who your kids are, what your relationship is, that is your bedrock, and you can be able to withstand anything. And you can navigate this life with peace and grace. And this woman has a love for her daughter. Yes, she's there because of her daughter. She's not giving up because of her daughter, but she also is willing to face public humiliation because of her trust and her faith in Jesus. That's motherly love. Title of my sermon, Motherly Love. Came up 21 minutes in, not so bad. Motherly love. She's able to do this. I have another, one last quote here from the Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness. It says, the ego often hurts. That is because it has something incredibly wrong with it, something unbelievably wrong with it. It is always drawing attention to itself. It does so every single day. It is always making us think about how we look and how we're treated by other people. People sometimes say their feelings hurt, but our feelings can't be hurt. It's our ego that hurts. My sense of self, my identity. Our feelings are mostly fine. It's my ego that hurts. Walking around does not hurt my toe unless there's something already wrong with my toe. It's hard enough getting through a whole day without feeling snubbed or stupid or ignored. There must be something already wrong with our ego. There's something wrong with it. And so we walk around and it gets hurt and we puff up. And in the book, he talks about we walk around like balloons. Someone just snubs you, or they look at you wrong, you fly off the handle, right? He snubbed me. He looked at me wrong. That sister at church hugged me, but I didn't feel authentic. Away with me. I will choose more wisely next time, right? Like, this woman is able, and this is what Jesus wanted. This is what Jesus wanted. He wanted to show the prejudice of his disciples' thinking. He wanted to show, guys, are you watching this? Guys, are you seeing this? Because being a part of the family of God has nothing to do with whether you're circumcised or not. It has nothing to do with your ethnic heritage. It has nothing to do with your church attendance record. It has everything to do with faith. And this woman has just exemplified what that is. And by the way, I'm going to heal her kid, and I'm going to do it without even touching her daughter. Jesus does only a couple remote healings in the Gospels. Remote healing meaning he doesn't see them. They're somewhere else. He heals them They're far away. He heals them far away. You know, the only people it happens with? Gentiles. So he's not prejudiced. He's not trying to be insensitive. It would go against his entire ministry. What he's trying to do is help his apostles see a truth that they're going to have to realize much later and shock them into realizing this is what it is. It's the same thing with the sinful woman in Luke 7, right? This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. You know, my sister's a great mom. And one of the things she did one time, she has three daughters, and she was at a playground. We talk about willing to suffer public humiliation for your kids. Moms are willing to suffer public humiliation for their kids. They don't care. They're like, you just don't talk, you don't mess with my kids. Now, my sister, my nieces, they were playing on the playground. Only ones there. One of them went down the slide and left a long streak of, let's call it feces. In the layman's terms, poop. First time I've said that word in a Sunday sermon, I promise you. And my sister, and there's other kids coming, and my sister does no napkin. She doesn't know how to clean it up. And she's kind of like petrified. She's like, what do I do? That's kind of epic. It was a lot, you know? And she's like, what do I do? And it's still, you know, mostly fresh. So she's like, you know what I'll do? I'm just going to slide down the slide and clean it up with my outfit. And so the other kids come and they don't recognize the thing. And, you know, they leave. Maybe she went back later to desanitize. I don't know. But I just thought, man, she had a snap decision of, these are my kids. That's a mess. I'm going to take it on me. And moms are like that, right? I'll take that on. I'll take it on. Now, some of you are like, maybe not this mom. No, that's the different kind of motherhood. I don't know. But I love that. For me, I would have done a whole cost benefit ratio analysis. I would have been like pros and cons of the situation. But my sister's like, I'll clean it up by sliding down, right? And last thought here, we're at 12:15. The last thought is that when the woman approaches Jesus, what does she say? She says, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. You know, it takes the Son of God to realize that it's not just the afflicted person who needs help, it's also the caregiver. You know, when our kids go through pain, moms feel it. You know, moms feel pain in a different kind of way. They can connect with it. So when Jesus heals the daughter, he doesn't actually say your daughter is healed at the end. He says, it is as you say, it is as you say, it is as you requested. Jesus didn't come just to heal the daughter. He came to heal her as well. He came to help her as well. Because some of us this morning need to realize that we care about so many other people. We got to make sure that we're asking Jesus to heal ourselves as well. You know, we got to have a higher view of Jesus, but that just means we need to ask him for crumbs more often. We got to ask him for help, because a lot of you guys are serving so much, and I see it in your eyes. You're doing so much. You're loving so much. So many people have decided to stop serving, and you guys are here. And a lot of you I'm so inspired by. But I want to encourage, as you ask Jesus to help others and ask Jesus to serve others, I pray that we can pray for you, but I pray that you can ask Jesus to help you as well as a caregiver, as someone who's experiencing pain yourself. You know, Jesus looked to God for an answer, and he desperately wanted to save us, just as the woman looked for an answer as she wanted to save her daughter. But it was an answer that Jesus did not fully understand when it was to go to the cross. The answer did not offend Jesus. Jesus was not afraid of being offended. God's answer didn't offend him. God's answer killed him. But he did this because he trusted in God's character for us. Jesus had a higher view of God than he did of himself. Jesus loved us so much that he went to God. He asked, how can I save them? He didn't necessarily like the answer. He did it anyway because he trusted in God's character. And we're all here today because of Jesus's love. And you could say that Jesus, that part of Jesus that we see in moms, or we see moms love, that's Jesus. When they're able to love in truth and love and selflessness, when moms are able to trust in someone's character, when moms are able to suffer public humiliation and take on our feces because they love us, that's Jesus. He took that on for us. And I pray that today and the rest of this week and the rest of the year, we can honor our moms because, man, they're incredible. But more than that, we can honor Christ. Lastly, these are the words to a hymn. It's called His Grace Reaches Me. Deeper than the ocean and wider than the sea is the grace of the Savior for sinners like me. sent from the Father, and it thrills my soul just to feel and to know that his blood makes me whole. Let's pray.